The title isn't a lie. This actually is the funniest PS1 game of all time. The general discourse in the world of video games is often one without context or any nuance whatsoever. A game is either good, bad, or just okay, and details are often lost in figurative translation. I, however, am of the opinion there are very many gradients, potentially infinite even. A good game can have the worst mechanic of all time, and a bad game can be one of graphical excellence. The supposed worst game of all time in Bubsy 3D is one I've come to appreciate upon reading up on its history and development, and it is far from the worst thing I've played regardless. Obsession is a great game that immediately becomes a fantastic one upon learning it was built by a sole individual. The Abnormal Place is a garbage game that is on the brink of unlocking its blistering potential. And Samurai Jack, the shadow of a coup. Okay, yeah, some games cannot be saved. A game is so much more than its overall sum of contents, and should be viewed as such. A game might be bad, but there is something good in every game. Something that might just elevate it above its shortcomings. Crisis City is that game. Hello? Okay, cool. Crisis City is a PS1 third-person arcade-style run-and-gun, in which you pick one of 7 characters to sprint through pre-rendered backgrounds, shoot up soldiers, robots and suicidal frogs, boss fight gauntlet the other characters, but above all become subject to the most unhinged gameplay. Now you can either experience the madness in this low-key versus mode against the CPU or your friends, or well, and even a time trial mode for those looking for a challenge, which I can't think of any scenario where you'd feel that way. But the vast majority of your time will be spent in the game's story mode. Why is he naked? Okay, so Its story mode, I do not understand, since the game never made it out of Japan. And that is unfortunate to say the least, as the game is rather story-rich for a run and gun like this. To introduce its characters, it's got these introductory walls of text scrolling over these incredible character portraits. To introduce its stages, it's once again got walls of text scrolling over these vague, grainy, oversaturated and epic static images. Which is then one-upped at the end of the stage, where the voice actors give it their all to provide these hella intense text box based cutscenes before and after a boss battle.
黙れ早く教えろ
あの子は私のことかわいそうな人と言っていたよ。
そんなことは聞いていない。
さあ、どこに行ってしまったのかな。
It all looks and sounds great, making for about the billionth instance where I wish I understood Japanese, but will put in zero effort to learn any of it. So I'll just stick to the delusion of all of this being dramatic as a fuck. Not that the individual character arcs really have its effect on the gameplay though, and nor do they really differ from one another all that much. No matter the character, the task at hand is to clear 7 stages total that are divided into a run and gun section and a 1v1 battle arena brawl against another playable character, based on the character arc. Every pathway then proceeds to lead to Rome, aka level 6 and 7 are always the same areas and boss fights against the same Sony Vegas voice distortion filter alien.
ここより先は関係者以外の立ち入りを固く禁じております。お引き取りください。
And crazy flamethrower professor. And just like that, the credits roll. Same shit, a different day, is what I'm saying. And you're going to love it too. Crisis City isn't just meant to be a run and gun. The run and gun gameplay is secondary to the sole purpose of this game. Creating chaos and exploding shit. Mostly exploding shit. I truly cannot explain how much this stupidity made me smile while playing. You just move from screen to screen to screen, trying to avoid getting absolutely ass blasted, with every inch of the screen being filled with stimuli in the form of explosions, reckless drivers, and the dumbest enemies popping up from everywhere, making me go full panic mode. It's absolute fucking insanity that will make no run feel the same. If it looks like it can explode, it can and probably will explode. If not by you, then by some stray enemy bullets or predetermined lost all control cars killing everyone and running into oil tankers. There's something happening on screen during every second of gameplay, instigating a chain reaction of events that culminate into your death as its ultimate conclusion. Which, is never not funny. To me, the game isn't even about beating it, but about the process of doing so. About witnessing the madness unfold. To facilitate this, there are continues instead of lives, resetting you to the start of the level. The levels are as short as 3 to 5 minutes to not lose a lot of progress, and reaching a boss fight acts like a checkpoint. The latter probably being the most important, as boss fights typically last about 20 seconds, and 9 out of 10 times, you're not the winner on the unhinged speedway. I can't tell you that much. And thus, dying becomes part of the fun, leaving room for fucking around, creating chaotic scenery, and blowing up scared humans. For the sake of blowing up scared humans. The game then proceeded to confirm my suspicions of the sole purpose being the creation of chaos upon beating the story mode for the first time. Doing so unlocks extra mode in the main menu. And extra mode is
Fucking crazy.
extra mode will have you play through the same areas as the story mode, but everything other than the pre-rendered backgrounds has been crazified. Enemies now have overpowered flamethrowers, everything is somehow even more explosive, and people are crawling, zooming and spinning. They even designed these rooms full of people and explosion chain reactions to purposely lag and overheat your PS1 by having way too much going on at once. Which is hilarious and truly shows the game's intentions. Being funny as fuck. A funny little side note here is that unlocking extra mode also unlocks the ability to play as Sony Vegas voice distortion filter alien and crazy flamethrower professor by either holding L1 or R1 plus circle on the random select option. A rather unorthodox Easter egg. That's pretty fucking neat. Crisis City was meant to be a one-of-a-kind experience, and it most definitely succeeded at doing so, making the act of failing feel satisfying. That doesn't mean it's a good game, however, because it truly isn't. It's a game where everything just about misses the mark, starting as early as the character select screen, where on top of various stats, every character is assigned a difficulty class from A to C. That really tell you a whole lot of nothing. Truth is, despite their variance, there is no real difficulty tier list. Every character will hit a brick wall, just at different points in the run. The slower, more powerful and defense-heavy characters in Jared and Christy struggle dodging anything in a fast-paced game like this, as well as their slow burst-fire guns struggling to damage any agile boss. The faster, weaker than a paperback characters in Ewan and Alicia fare well in a fast-paced environment, but struggle in areas with many enemies due to their low damage output and dying in 2 to 3 hits. And when it comes to the final boss fight, even a single hit. The mid-in-everything characters in Ralph and Pamela do too little damage, can take too few hits and are a little too slow, thus getting stuck at random boss fights due to not being able to take them out fast enough. And Roof? Yeah, Roof is just broken. Whoever decided to give him a sniper rifle damage output with assault rifle firing rate was cooking a little too hard, I'm afraid. Disregarding Mr. Rambo over here, a run took me about 30 to 40 minutes for every single character, showing zero consistency in difficulty class, and thus rendering it useless. Now, while this character variant does change the gameplay and general approach of the levels,
Yo!
it is then overshadowed by the common denominator, that is, the core game design. A bold choice was made to make this thing play out in a pre-rendered setting, which is rather unusual. A design choice that, especially at the time, was often seen in slower-paced survival horror and RPGs, but rarely in games meant to operate at a faster pace. And Crisis City displays exactly why this combination isn't the golden formula. Visually, I love these highway, lab, and soldier-based settings, dragging my low-poly character model through them and interacting with cars, crates, lockers, and robots. It's not the most detailed, high-res, or visually impressive color palettes and lighting you've ever seen, but it most definitely is a PS1 aesthetic. Functionally though? Pre-rendered backgrounds means forced perspectives. And in a high-octane action game like this, that hinders the experience far more than it adds to it. Dodging explosions and projectiles becomes harder due to weird depth perception. Targeting enemies feels increasingly more scuffed due to the weird angling, and the constant fluctuation of POVs per area, changing the FOV, angles, zoom percentage, and general direction you're moving into, really doesn't do anything other than getting my fucking brains blown out. And this area in particular being the worst offender, with this guy only spawning in upon entering. Angle is ass, shots aren't hitting, rapid fire gives me no room to move. Damageless. There is of course the game's manually switched on and off auto-aim to somewhat mitigate this issue. Somewhat being the key word here, as it will only lock onto an enemy when you're tunnel vision facing their general direction, meaning they can just as easily move out of your field of view and lock you down instead. Their damage output being overblown to the point of unfair, and the dodge roll not dodging the damage as well as cancelling the reload animation isn't really helping either. The single most toxic feature in a fast-paced game where you're supposed to dodge bullets, and you made two characters have a one-shot clips. In all honesty, this game would have been a nightmare if not for the broken crouch move being the savior of my enjoyment. The simple act of kneeling down dodges about 90 to 95% of the bullets, turning an otherwise infuriating broken mess into a broken mess that is strangely satisfying. It neutralizes the frustration brought about by the rest of the unbalanced gameplay elements, and in doing so cuts your game time by about 80%, if not more, thus preventing beating the game with every available character from becoming nothing but a chore. This tight hallway full of Robocops would have been my Achilles heel otherwise. But yeah, it's still a broken mechanic neutralizing a broken game. None of Crisis City's gameplay elements work as intended. But it's a duct taped together house of jank that rises above its glaring issues by being nothing but an over-the-top, playable comedy. And thus you don't care about evil Professor Guy flamethrower one-shotting you, the same 3 enemy classes in every level, and the AI doing whatever this is a welcome error after getting your teeth kicked in repeatedly. Look, if Crisis City was a regular run and gun, it wouldn't be worth making a video about. But there is no other PS1 game like Crisis City. Underneath the insane enemy damage, dysfunctional pre-rendered backgrounds, and broken controls, there is a fucking gem with brilliant artwork and fire voice acting.
何
But above all, an organized Michael Bay explosion chaos that is not meant to work, but to entertain. It is a video game designed to be stupid, designed to make failing a cornerstone of its gameplay. And with the game's short runtime and convenient failsafes in place, there is more than enough room to enjoy the stupidity over moulding at its shortcomings. Crisis City proves a dysfunctional game can still provide value. It is a game that is willing to take risks, willing to turn stupid ideas into reality, willing to not give a fuck about quite frankly anything other than objects go boom. And in doing so delivers a spectacle that made me look at its shortcomings with the dumbest smile. Crisis City is a bad game. A bad game I loved playing.